And you can go ahead and just put your name in the chat. This is a live webinar. So, but yeah, just let us know where you're joining us from. And you can go ahead and excited to have you here. Chat. This is a live webinar. So, but yeah, just let us know. Sorry about that. I am streaming live on YouTube and I have to mute it on this end. So anyway, welcome. Great to have you here. And today I just wanted to walk you through some of the resources available to those teaching family therapy classes with my textbooks related to family therapy. And so there's Mastering Competencies 4th edition, and there's also the Theory and Treatment Planning in Family Therapy, which really just focuses on treatment planning and case conceptualization, where the Mastering Competencies does progress notes, clinical assessment, and is certainly just a much longer, bigger book. Most programs who use that book, they definitely will use it in multiple courses throughout their curriculum. So I just want to get in and just show you what resources are available first, because I know your time is precious. And then I will also just kind of talk through some ideas that you might like for actually using these unique textbooks and their resources and those forms to structure class time. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's see here. I'm going to go here. So the first thing to know is that, and I hope you're seeing this okay, that there is a book on actually both of my web pages, the therapythatworksinstitute.com/books, also dianegayhart.com/books have almost the same looking web page. And here you will find a place where you descriptions of all the books. There is a place for your students or you to get all the forms. I will also show you where instructors can get all the forms, and a brief description and comparison of the various books. But I have out, but the most important thing for you to also know on this page while we are here is it does describe the video series that Cengage has put together to accompany these textbooks, which are very hard to find. It's the main reason I'm doing this training. But I also want all instructors to know that you can find here at the bottom, I actually put here some information about who's actually in the videos. So if you have your students completing forms related to any of these videos, you have some of the information here that they can use to complete their assignments. So just the names, the ages of the folks who are in the videos, so you can complete the forms. And again, this is the bottom of the therapythatworksinstitute.com/books page or the Diane Gayhart books page. It's the very bottom. It's called Video Overview. Okay, so, and once you fill out that form, I will show you just what this page looks like with the free clinical forms. You'll see the clinical assessment is here, the treatment plan, the progress notes. There is, and all of the counseling and MFT forms are all on the same page. This will take you to the, there's a traditional counseling theories conceptualization. There's family therapy has both a concise and a long form case conceptualization form. And then for family therapy, you can see all of the individual theories for each chapter has their own form. And then there's a comparison of Carl Tom's work here. And then for counseling theories, again, you have all of those theories have individual forms as well. They have all been updated in 2023 with more contemporary language, especially around diversity. So if you have the old forms, I invite you to come get the new forms that have been updated with more contemporary terms. So this is the easiest place to get the forms. And now I'm going to, and this is something both you, faculty, and students can access. And now I'm going to show you where Cengage has all of their resources for faculty. And this, you have to be a verified faculty member to actually get access to. So for those who are truly faculty, you need to get a Cengage faculty account. And so you go to cengage.com and you need to create a faculty account, and they will need to verify that you are employed as a professor and use their textbooks. So the first time you do it, take some time. Then after that, it's not so bad, but you sign in here. And so my dgayhart@csun.edu is just recognized by Cengage system as is designated as a faculty account, which gives you access to very different things than a student account would give you access to. So if you happen to be like, I've had some people who are doctoral students. So if you are a student on Cengage, you'll need a different one for a different email that has to be validated as your university email address to sign in and get those resources. And if you do need help, definitely contact them. They should have help 24/7. It's online chat help, but it's help to verify that. But it can take several days because usually a university administrator, if your photo is not on and your name is not on the university homepage, you will need to have someone actually validate, verify, vouch for you. Someone in HR or your department chair is the other person, because you'll have to fill out a form to actually get access to everything that I am showing you right now. But once you have access, you're really good. So then you sign in, and this is the Cengage Instructor Center. There's a lot here. So what you're going to want to do, you can search for products, right? So you could search for, let's say, we're going to focus on Mastering Competencies 4th edition here. And so you would add that if it's not in your library. It's in my library, so I found it. But you can add any of these books that I've written with Cengage to your library. So you can go ahead and add that. And you can start your adoption here, where you just tell them what class you're using it for to make sure you get the free resources. But the first thing I want to show you is some key resources. It does show pricing options, so you can see what options your students have in terms of pricing. I guess I should mention what is a bit of a frustration. I have tried for over a decade. A lot of folks end up getting the paperback because you can use it across courses. They use it for studying for licensing exam. It's really, in many ways, some people are calling it now the encyclopedia. This latest edition has been called the Encyclopedia Family Therapy because there's a lot in there. There is an ebook, and one of the nice things about the ebook is that the students do have access to those videos. And you can see with the ebook, they have different pricings for how long they have access. So that's the one thing you get with the ebook. That said, my students use the paperback so much that we definitely have our students do the paperback. And I would love for Cengage, I've been trying for a decade, like I said, to get them to have just the videos as an add-on, but they won't do that. But the most important things to know about are the resources that are available to faculty and instructors who are using this textbook. So when you click on resources, go to supplements. So this is where you're going to find your videos. So, and this takes you to the ebook, because like I said, the videos are embedded in are embedded now in the ebooks. They've changed everything since the last edition, if you knew how to access the videos before. So, and I will walk you through the new changes to the new edition. But first, I want to kind of show you where to find the videos, because that is not intuitive. And here we are. Just remember, when you get these little spinning wheels, you can just breathe deep and meditate, because sometimes this is a huge book. It takes a little time to load. This is actually taken longer than I would have expected. Okay, that's not good. Okay, so what is going to happen here is it's going to pull up the full ebook, and then you will find there once it goes through all the content, there is a media file that will show you the different videos that go with the book. And also within each chapter, you will see the videos that are associated with that particular chapter. So this is a little concerning that that's not actually pulling up. So I am just going to keep moving on, and we'll come back to that. Oh, there it goes. Looks like, oh, wow, that is not loading right. That is not good. Okay, so as we will come back and see if they can get their website working, but meanwhile, let me also show you the companion site. So we have the e-textbook is where you're going to find your videos. There is a media folder at the very end, but then there is a companion site for instructors where you will find all of Cengage's resources for the textbook. And you can see they're all here. I know it's not the prettiest layout. You can see it's all unlocked for faculty. It's kind of what that means. But when you go in here, you will find you need to each time accept that you will not send this and sell this information, but you will download a zip file. Let me show you what that looks like real quick here. So yes, so what you get here is a zip file that will have all of the clinical forms for you. And I'm going to show you real quick what happens when you, what the folder is going to look like when you actually, show you my whole screen, but here you'll see, so when you undo this, you'll get all of the Word document folders, files for all of the theory-specific case conceptualizations and the comprehensive and the concise conceptualization. And you'll notice there is a scoring rubric as well here. So you get a lot. And so that's all of the case conceptualizations. This is probably the most complex one. And then what you can see here as we go back to the screen here, share screen, here we go, that you'll see I could not get them to retitle the clinical form. The syllabi, sample syllabi are here for you. There are clinical assessments, progress notes, treatment plans. There's a correlation grid between the old and the new. There is a guide to teaching online, a generic thing that Cengage gives everyone. There's a kind of an instructor's manual that has some tips in there. It has all of the PowerPoint slides, and then it has test banks for Blackboard, Canvas. They also have them in Word. And then there's a transition guide to go from one text to the other. So you can download from here. There's actually well over 100 files at least. You download a zip file that opens it all up. I would like to also highlight that for all of these forms here, let's see if you pull this. Oh, whoops, and I got a scoring rubric there. Let me see if I can get a rubrics. Here we go. If you look here, for example, I'm going to share yet another screen. If you don't know how to use, all of these are Word documents that are actually unlocked. And what that means is you can edit these. So for any reason you want to change something on these forms, you need to enable what's called the developer tab. You can Google how to, enable developer tab. You basically go to your main Word preferences and enable developer tab on usually your general preferences tab. There's a totally different way to do it for Mac versus PC. But if you click on this developer tab, you can unprotect the form, unclick that, and now you can edit and delete things. You can rename this. You don't like the 4.4.0. You can whatever, take it away, and then when you lock it again, it's the students can only fill out the fields, and it's got your particular edits in it. So these are editable and customizable should you decide to do that. And the key is enabling your developer tab. It's very, very easy. Pretty much you can remove shading, you can add a text box, a check box, or a drop box type of form. So you actually have a lot of control over these and you can customize them. But going back now to our Cengage screen, let's see here. So yeah, so this is where you will find most of your, supportive stuff that you can use to help you with teaching. I'm going to go back over here and see what's up with this launching this thing. Let's so strange. I had this up yesterday and I was doing another training for faculty with this. Here it is. Whew. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is an ebook. Has the entire text of the book embedded here. And what you will see, though, is at the end here, there is something called a media index. And in the media index, you will see all the videos. So for chapter 6, we have a video on strategic therapy. 7, you will see the structural family therapy. And these are all about 30 minutes to an hour long. This is a series that really focuses on teaching one key intervention or concept from the theory that is being highlighted. And so this, I basically interviewed an expert in the field and had them really describe, like in this case, EFT. So I had Ben Caldwell describe how to assess the interaction pattern in stage 1. For satir, I actually had someone who worked with satir, trained with satir, demonstrate sculpting. And so it gives you, so we're really focusing on one particular intervention. And with these videos, you can have your class then break into small groups and practice the interventions, because it's really focused on a single intervention. And the reason for that was I could never figure out how to give an hour and a half time to a video and then discussing it. It would take up the whole class. So these are slightly shorter. There's usually a 5-minute discussion where we talk a little bit about the theory and the intervention. Then there's a demonstration. And then actually what we do in this is I will debrief usually with the clients if they were willing, and then we debrief with the therapist and myself together. So it's kind of fun to have the clients share what their experiences. I was obviously a qualitative researcher and had to add that part. So you can get all the videos you need here. Like I said, unfortunately, the students don't have access to stream these unless they purchase the ebook. And I will still keep nagging and asking them to make the videos available to those who buy the hardback or paperback. But at this time, there is no way to get access to these for the students without paying for it. And I have tried. So that is the highlights of the resources available to you. There are PowerPoints, there are syllabi, there are all the forms, there are test banks. There are test banks ready for Blackboard and Canvas. And then you have these videos that you can be using. And there is a transcript for all of these. Okay, so now what I would like to do is to go back through, and I'm trying to figure out which of these. I think I like the layout here better. So now what I did is I clicked off of the ebook, and now I'm back into the Instructor Center on Cengage. And just to recap, when you're in the Instructor Center, you do get the whole contents. You also get the book here, but then you go to resources to click supplements to take you to the ebook with the videos. There is a Cengage testing powered, they have this other resource. I guess I should show you real quick, but it looks like for my text, it's not. You can create little test banks and test questions, but they only have multiple choice questions for the most part, but you can kind of customize creating a little test, or you can just download it in Word and edit it there. So there is one more resource I forgot to show you. There's a lot here that's hard to find, but now I'm going to go back to the content section to just talk through, for those of you who are familiar with the 3rd edition, just what I changed in the 4th edition. So one of the things you will see is that there is telehealth throughout all of the chapters. And there's actually, I'll show you a specific kind of general section on telehealth. It's also addressed in the law and ethics section. And then you will see it in all the theory sections as well as a set. There's also one on licensure, what types of things that they're reading are going to be on their licensing exams, to just kind of get them primed and ready for that. So let's go ahead and talk about some of these changes. So chapter 1 is just the introduction really to competency and theory and family therapy. It's just minor updates, and you don't even necessarily need to have your students, read that. Chapter 2, what I did in chapter 2 primarily is update some of the vocabulary. I added a lot more classic cybernetic vocabulary that tends to appear on the national MFT exam. And so I kind of updated both sections with that in mind. Then one of the new really big additions are really chapter 3 and 4, the big new additions. Chapter 3 goes over social justice and family therapy, and it's really a review of the major social justice related models. So much of the literature in social justice is really about a person's lived experience, and it's a very first person, right? And so it's not something you would typically put into a literature review that goes in a textbook. So what I highlighted were the major models that are published in some of the more widely used books. It is not totally, I do not have it all in there. There's a lot that's not in there. I explained that in the chapter. The rhizomatic literature review I kind of did, and the rhizomatic ideas, but it does lay the land, give some vocabulary so for some of the key models within family therapy related to social justice. Let's see. Then chapter 4 is a new cross-theoretical and integrative framework approach. And so you probably recall Carl Tom's work from the 3rd edition, and now we have 2 new ones added to this section. The first is integrative systemic therapy, IST, and this, if you're not familiar with it, I really feel like this is like systems theories for the 21st century. And I was very torn. I almost put this, you will see it in the chapter 6 with the strategic Milan MRI, but I think it explains those theories in a very contemporary way, and how it kind of loses some of the more kind of awkward terms that I think some of our students struggle with in the 21st century, and puts it into really practical terms, easy to teach. So I kept it here because it's called integrative. It's very systemic. And I would refer back to it quite a bit when you actually go to chapter 6, and there's references back and forth between those 2 chapters. The other thing I put into this is the unifying framework that I have been working with, the Therapy That Works unifying framework, that and this is the first place where I have written it up, but this will actually kind of walks people through it, and you should be able to see this kind of this table that I use. It's 4 levels. It's actually got, each level has 2 parts, but it looks at, we use it for cross-theoretical comparison in the other chapters. I am getting a question here. If you're an instructor using the textbook in another country, as long as you're at a university that can be validated, I mean, it says not a recognized university, I would work with the international Cengage team to see if they can identify you as an instructor. You have to be assigning the textbook in a class that's required. So that is, as an instructor, this has to be a required textbook that you are using. And if you can verify that your university or educational institution is requiring the textbook, they would do this for postgraduate institutes as well. If you're requiring it and you have evidence of that and your students are buying it, then they will most likely give you instructor access. So the 4-level assessment, going back to the unifying framework, there is a YouTube video on my YouTube channel that I just posted last week. And next month, I'll be recording integrative systemic therapy lecture. And then the month after that, I will be doing Carl Tom's IP scope. So you will have online lectures for all of these. There are also, I am re-recording online lectures over the next year or 2 for all of my textbooks. There are a lot out there. There's a lot to re-record. And so I'm just decided to just tackle that one video at a time. We do have the new solution focus, narrative, and collaborative videos are already out because I taught postmodern last spring, and I continue trying to kind of slowly roll these out. So, but this kind of goes through that unifying framework. And obviously, these are just frameworks that you can use, your students can use to help compare and think about the different theories, track major concepts like Carl Tom does the best job on complementary patterns. The integrative systemic therapy just really talks about how to do systems theory and the whole concept of doing a hypothesis, creating a hypothesis, doing an intervention. seeing how the system responds, getting that feedback, and then, refining the hypothesis, intervening again, getting the feedback, and that whole loop, it does beautifully. So, which is really very core to a lot of the approaches in the book. The unifying framework, I think that 4-level assessment really helps you see how, Satir and Whitaker and experiential family therapists, how they're still working with the same interaction pattern, just at the emotional level, versus like CBT, systems and structural. They focus on behavioral and cognitive together. The postmodernists, do the societal level of that 4-level assessment. So begin to see how all these therapies to understand, and gives a framework for comparing and contrasting them that people hopefully will find helpful. Moving on, chapter 5. This just gives an expanded, kind of an updated version of the research. I did add interpersonal neurobiology and a little work on just the stress response. A lot. I'm very familiar with Dan Siegel's work, just so that students have that and can, have a little bit of that. Ben Caldwell updated the legal and ethical section. He also covered telehealth. And then I did a telehealth one as well. So both of us did a telehealth. This all had to go to press in 2022. So, I'm sure there's even a lot more since then, but it is as of 2022. Ben did the legal stuff, and then I did more the pragmatic clinical dimensions of telehealth. So all of that is in there. Moving on, you can see that we go into the major theories. Systemic and strategic therapy section is pretty similar to the chapter, just kind of updated with some references. I added an in the grand scheme of things, so it's a cross theoretical comparison section. And I think the most important thing to always know that make sure your students get to the put it all together section, where they have the theory specific case conceptualization template and the treatment planning templates. Then for structural family therapy, you will see pretty much, I think, the same. We got structural, we got ecosystemic, and then functional family therapy are the primary ones highlighted here. Also have the intensive structural therapy. Experiential, you will see again Satir, EFT, and Whitaker. Whitaker symbolic experiential are all in here. And we did add something new to intergenerational. So now you'll see Bowen is in there, psychoanalytic family, couple family therapies. And then I did add internal family systems back in. I got permission to add pages to a textbook, which almost never happens, because it's normally you put something in, you take something out. But thanks to the pandemic and the different standards for national and California licensing exams and what they need, I got permission to extend, make the book longer. And it's a 3-pound beast. But I got to add back in the internal family systems theory, which is quite popular. So that is now in there. And I also added attachment-based family therapy and evidence-based treatment for depressed teens. So definitely make sure you touch on that, because that is an exciting and much needed approach. So for CBT, I updated the sections, but it was pretty long and thorough before, because we also have integrated behavioral couples therapy, Gottman, and there's a little bit on trauma-focused CBT, and then we got the couple and family group therapies and mindfulness. So that is one long, full chapter. I know. Then we have the solution-based therapies, including a solution-oriented Ericksonian hypnosis. And then for postmodern, we still have collaborative, we have narrative, and then I also put in here the socio-emotional relationship therapy. That focuses on couples and gender issues and gender equity. So that's a great little area that was added that I'm very happy about. Okay, let's see. And so the most of these last few chapters that go over the theoretical, the clinical forms were just updated, contemporary. You'll see some of the language has changed around gender and ethno-racial identity in particular. The DSM-5 was added, and that was updated for the new DSM in this section. and more contemporary issues. And the DSM-5-TR got in there. Okay, okay. And so you have all of that. Treatment planning was not significantly, evaluating progress was not significantly updated, nor was progress notes. So all that's pretty similar, just some, minor updates for what's going on in the world right now. So I think that's the major highlights. If I were teaching the book, what I would want to know, so I don't get surprised by anything. And then finally, I just want to end here going over just some ideas for how to use some of these resources in your classroom. And, a lot of this does depend on whether if you're trying to do a theory per week, or whether you have a class where you divide up theories over 2 semesters, and some of you are in quarters, and everyone teaches at a different pace. I feel very fortunate. I'm an institution where I typically get 2 to 3 weeks for each chapter in theory. So it allows for more ways, more class time to dive in. So some of what I'm saying may not be realistic if you're trying to cover, all of these theories in one semester, but I'll just put some out there, and you all can see if any of these fit for you. So see, there we go. So some class activities. So the first one that's pretty simple to implement is I break my students into groups of like 3, 4, 5, and I assign them a theory-specific treatment plan, because normally in my classes, I just have them do the big, long, cross-theoretical one or the concise one, depending on the class. But then we have all these theory-specific ones also, and it's just too much to grade, too much to have everyone do a bunch of these. I hate grading. I hate grading them just as much as probably you do. So, but what I have done with these is, each person gets assigned one of the theories covered in the semester. And what I have found worked really well for me is I tell them to go find a movie that they've all seen, or a television show. But I did learn the television show, they end up like binge watching it. And so that wasn't so good. So find a movie that has a character or family in it, and have them use one of the theory-specific case conceptualizations on one of the characters, or a family, or a couple, however you want to design the assignment, in the movie. And I require, and I just have them do the the theory-specific case conceptualization. So just what would a strategic therapist say, or a structural therapist, or satire communication model, how would each one work with this? And I don't do the treatment plan because it is pretty spelled out in the textbook. And I just keep it to 15 to 20 minutes. So I keep it really short. I only let them do 4 to 5, 1 slide per person, 1 content slide per person. That's it. Otherwise they will go on and on and on and on. So, but that, keeping it tight, 1 slide, and they just take that theory-specific case conceptualization, divide it up, seem to work really well and not take up kind of precious time. Another thing you can do is if you show a video in class, whether it's one of the ones that go with this textbook or any other video, you can have them use any of the forms, the case conceptualization, the treatment plan. You can do, the progress note, clinical assessment, depending on what class you're teaching, and use these forms to break into small groups to try to, fill them out as a class exercise, and then talk through it as a group. Another one you can do, especially with the videos that go with the textbooks, and now that you can find the ebooks, congratulations, you can use them. So you can watch one of these videos and then practice either as a class as a whole, or break up into small groups. You can practice what you watched in the video. So for example, we just pulled up that EFT video. You could have them practice, tracking the interaction cycle, in small groups, and then come back and talk about, what worked, what didn't, what questions they have. So I think scaling question is in the solution focused one, super easy one to break into groups and have them practice. But you can use those videos or a portion of those videos to help guide some practice sessions, low key, casual, let's all play around with this idea. One thing I think is a great idea is, as often as possible, if you show any show a video that has a session of any kind, it is a really great idea to spend 5 minutes as a class or break into small groups for 10 minutes and try to write up a progress note. And you have the forms that go with the book. It just gives them really great practice for when they go to the field, and it doesn't actually take that much time. And that's a really nice one that's super practical, lots of benefits down the road, and doesn't take too much class time to do. And then finally, you'll see at the end of each chapter, there are just some prompts for group and class discussion. You'll see throughout the text, there's something called Try It Yourself. That also gives little ideas for exercises you can do with each of the chapters related to, kind of various concepts that either lend themselves to practicing with a partner in class, or lend themselves to class discussion. So they're actual, if you actually read those little boxes that say, try it yourself, you should get some ideas for classroom exercises. And then at the end of each chapter, there are some discussion prompts that you can also use, in the classroom. Okay. So I got a question here. So in the theory-specific case conceptualization, all the students process the same movie from a different model with 1 slide per student. So you can sometimes I assign a movie. I've done it both ways. Sometimes I assign a movie where they're all looking at the same family, through different theoretical lenses. Sometimes you can, and I do that. And I actually did that for the actual written assignment for the first time. My little tip to you is pick the exact moment in the movie when you want them to do the session, because I did get some weird variations. So pick a moment in the movie if you're assigning the movie. And so I assigned them one movie, and then for their class presentations, I let each group pick a different movie and different character to put through that specific theory that they were required to present on. So I was teaching the postmodern class last semester. So we had a group go postmodern CBT. So, one group presented on solution focus for 15 minutes, when we did that module of the class. So we spent 2-3 weeks on solution focused. So, on the 3rd week, they presented for 15 minutes and we had a little class discussion around it. And then when we did the narrative, there was another group that took up, did the narrative theory, specific case conceptualization. They got to pick their own movie. And then they also presented for 15 minutes. And so that worked. That was a great assignment. I liked it. Super easy to grade, didn't take too much class time. And they felt like it wasn't too onerous, because you'll see those theory specific case conceptualization forms are generally much shorter than the beastly cross theoretical one that has almost all of it, right? So then you're also practicing and setting them up. The big assignment at the end then is to do that cross theoretical conceptualization and a treatment plan. So, because the treatment plans and most of the theories they're standardized in large measure, that's usually the easiest part to grade. And as I was setting up my faculty yesterday, that was the first thing they wanted to drop if there was too much in the class. So, but yeah, you could do it, but there's a lot of benefit in having the same family looked at through multiple different lenses. And I was already doing that for one assignment. So for my groups, there are other times I have assigned the groups the exact same movie to look at. Yep. And so, yeah, that's correct, Sophia. I think you got it. And so the theory, I used the theory specific case conceptualizations as a group project, because we do require them to do the cross theoretical conceptualization. We use that as part of our accreditation data. So our students actually do the cross theoretical case conceptualization a minimum of 3 times on 3 different, families. We start them in the first year, they do it in the systems theories class. They do it in postmodern, where you add a few more sections. And then they do it at the end of field work with one of their actual clients. So that's how we use that. And that's where we get a lot of our data for our COAMFD accreditation. So excellent. So those are just some of my ideas. I didn't want to overwhelm you, but these are the ones I have found quite helpful. I guess I should also let you know, if your university does not do simulations, my university does. And what that is it is a virtual reality. You do have to pay for it, but I will pull this up. It is called Simpact. I get no money or anything. I love simulation. And what simulation is, it is a mixed reality technology that is mind-blowing. And what happens is, and there is a you have to register, you do have to pay. I think it's around $500 for a single 2-hour session. And you can, and there are already, scenarios in there that are built off of my textbook, believe it or not. And because I work there, and I was able to create all of those, but it is this incredible live supervision. It is the favorite thing for training that I've ever done. Because what's beautiful about this is you have a client and your students can actually take turns. Usually every 10 minutes, we switch the therapist out and working with this same client. Client doesn't notice that we're different. But what's beautiful is unlike, normal live supervision where you have a real client on the other side of the room, you don't have to worry all about the client safety. You can really focus on student learning. And the best part is the pause function, because at any point, either the student or the instructor can pause the session, the client goes away, and you can talk to them give them tips on how to rephrase, just highlight what dynamic is happening in the room right now. They can pause and say, hey, I'm totally lost. Can you help me here? And it is really this very incredible technology for learning. So all of the information is here. You can just put CSUN Simpact, SIMPACT, and it's a great, training opportunity. If you're not using virtual reality or mixed reality training, you will absolutely love this. It's the most fun I've had teaching, I think, ever. Okay. This is not the AMFT. So CSUN did it. CSUN is AMFT. We're going to work together. It didn't work out. So now CSUN has an option and AMFT has an option. And so they're it's the same. Immersion is the creator of the platform. So it's using the same platform, but they're different places. And I don't know how the pricing works I don't know how the pricing works for AMFTs since I only use the CSUN one. So awesome. Excellent. Okay, are there any other questions or thoughts or comments? Okay, so for the CSUN one, it is $500 for the one session. So for 1 2-hour session, you can usually have like one class. So normally we have about 20 students in a class. And what is that? My students don't pay $25, something like that. It's a little different because we are 500. Let's make sure. Yeah, it's $25. Is typically, I think, what they pay. You have 20 students, you get your 500, you get this 2-hour training session, and you get the video of, what happened, which you can use afterwards for class exercises and assignments. But it is, and most of the time we do one per semester. So the students, and we use it it's like a textbook resource they have to purchase for the class. So they pay $25 and then they, get the simulation and they get the video to watch afterwards to review. And why it's so helpful is that you get all of this annotation of what you should be thinking, why to phrase a question this way versus another way. The quality of the instructor is critical. So if you're an instructor who has lots of experience with live supervision, you can, do a lot, or your instructor has to be a good clinician and a good supervisor for you to get your money's worth out of the simulator. I will say that, the simulator doesn't do it for you. This is not ChatGPT doing your supervision, but, when you learn to use it, it is truly magical. I use these also in my postgraduate courses, and this is absolutely everyone's favorite, hands down favorite part of the course is using this mixed reality simulation. Yes. So since we're at a state school, Sophia, it is one time they pay $25, and then we're in there for 2 hours, one day out of the academic year of the 15 weeks I'm in a semester. So we take, one day, everyone pays $25 like it's a book. We go to the simulator. You can do it online. And we do the simulation for a 2-hour simulation one time for $25. And then you get a video that you can use, the students can use to create exercises, to review. But it is really just such a valuable learning experience. So yes, and normally in a 2-hour session, I can get 6 to 10 people to be a therapist. And typically, just to get a sense of it, and I interrupt a lot. I'm super bossy in the simulator, and students love that because they're all scared to death, right? But so if a student's got 10 minutes, they're probably talking to the client for 5 minutes, and then I'm giving supervision for 5 minutes. So it's almost 50-50 the way I do it. And I think it is the best way to use a simulator. So even if you're doing a 2-hour session, it's really about an hour of maybe talking with the client, and then an hour of giving live supervision, redirecting, giving tidbits, like, did you just see that? That was, that was your sign that there was enmeshment or whatever was going on, right? Or sometimes, and and you can pause a session. And sometimes as a therapist has said something, I'm like, God, if they just said this, it's going to be so much better. And you can literally pause it before the client responds. And I just have them add a tag question on. And so then they get it so much clearer what they need to be learning. Yeah. Awesome. It is. It's a lot of fun. And it's so realistic. It's so funny. I know the first few times I started using it, I'd be like, okay, so as soon as we're done here, we're going to have to call child abuse, and how we're going to handle this. And we should tell the parents. And I'm like, wait a second, this isn't a real person. I don't have to call anyone. This is great. Okay, I'll just keep focusing. But it's funny, if you've done live supervision, you're always treatment planning and figuring out where you're going to refer and and I'm like, oh, all I have to do is teach. Oh, this is so much fun. This is so much easier. But yeah, I have multiple times gotten so involved. I am treatment planning. I'm plan who I'm going to call, the safety planning, and it's just like, oh wait, Diane, you don't need to do that. Okay, God, this is good. So it really is excellent and awesome. So, are there any other questions about how to use this book? Okay, there's some people streaming on YouTube. If you've got questions on YouTube, I'm actually able to see them at the moment. So you can go ahead. Oh, I got some thumbs up. Thank you all. But if there's any more questions on YouTube, I will check back in a minute. And it looks like we're good here on Zoom. And okay, so hopefully this was a useful introduction to the various resources that are available to you when you use the Cengage textbooks for family therapy that I've written. And there really is a lot. There's a lot of ways to use this book, especially the Mastering Competencies. Like I said, most people are using them across different semesters. But I just wanted to make sure you all knew where to find the videos, the test banks, the forms. And hopefully this makes your teaching life a little bit easier. So thank you all so much for joining me. It was awesome. And I wish you lots of luck. And you can always reach me on my webpage, reach out on that contact page, and I will do my best to answer any questions, any concerns you have about the books. So thank you all. Be well. Take care. Thanks so much. And this video will be on YouTube long-term, so you can go back, hopefully, and reference it as needed. So be well, take care.